Hare Krishna. Somebody can please lead the invocation prayers.
May I, Prabhuji?
Go ahead.
ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरून् श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपदांश सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्तान्विश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमस्तुते। तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानं पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वतीदेवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। हरे कृष्ण।
Hare Krishna. Thank you all for coming to read and discuss Srila Prabhupada and Krishna's instructions, and thank you in advance for applying these instructions in your respective lives. Today we will discuss inquiries submitted by you all on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 6. Question number 1. How to grow in our conviction? So, desires and doubts hamper our spiritual growth. Therefore, we lack conviction. The solution is Bhagavad Gita 7.1, that by hearing Tachrunu, the doubts are removed and our conviction and attachment to Krishna increases. If conviction is not increasing by studying scriptures, then we have to see how we are studying the scriptures. So reading is not a stereotype activity that some devotees will read 50, 60, 100 pages of scriptures every day to put a tick mark. And other devotees may read 3, 4, 5 pages because they study the subject matter deeply, and they would write something on that subject matter or analyze that subject matter. Now, some concepts we read and try to correlate with other purports or other articles on that topic. Meaning, I'm not just reading to put a tick mark that I have studied 50, 60, 100 pages today. No, rather, we try to comprehend what is stated in those 3, 4, 5 pages that we read. So we have to find out what scriptural study nourishes us. Not just reading for the sake of reading, rather understand and practice. Understanding scriptures happens from our classes. So our classes are definitely at practice oriented. And when you do these revision presentation, or how in the other batch devotees are doing these bigger presentations, this is the best way to dive deep into the subject matter. Studying scriptures is important limb of bhakti, but not all will be inspired from reading. Some may get inspired from some services. So if service is inspiring you, then read something related to your services. Example, book distribution is an easy example. That read something related to book distribution and correlate and dive deep into the subject matter because it is book distribution service that is inspiring you. This way, the scriptural study will become more nourishing. Now, I will point out a caution here. This deep analysis from scriptural study should not be PhD style deep study. Rather, deep analysis should be on the path of devotion. And I'll give you an example. That this question number 1 that we have on screen on how to grow our conviction for devotional service is an appropriate inquiry on the path of devotion, while question number 10 coming up today, the inquiry is what is the significance of 75% of creation is spiritual world and 25% of creation is material world. The question says, is there any significance to the 75-25 ratio? So this upcoming question number 10 is an example of PhD style question that we should avoid. To decide whether the deep study and our inquiry is PhD style or a valid inquiry on the path of devotion, decision is based on what will you do with a potential answer that you can think of in your head before you write the inquiry. So for this question number 1, I have given you tangible tasks that you can do to transform yourself. And for the upcoming question number 10 on the significance of 75-25 ratio of creation, ask yourself, what will you do with the answer? Nothing. That means that question number 10, upcoming question number 10 is a PhD style question and we should avoid. Does that answer the inquiry? Although one devotee has asked this question, but conviction definitely, a conviction point applies to many, if not all. All right.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Question number 2. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, presents imaginary universal form. Bhagavad Gita chapter 10 presents Vibhuti Yoga. So what is the purpose of Bhagavad Gita universal form? Like each of Lord's form is for specific reciprocation with devotees. So we have discussed in Bhagavad Gita chapter 11, Srila Prabhupada has said, universal form display is godless display of opulences because this is the nature of devotee. Devotee and God are not interested to show universal form. Devotee wants to reciprocate with the Lord. But with Bhagavad Gita's universal form, it's a real universal form, but it is very difficult to reciprocate with such ghastly universal form. So why Bhagavad Gita universal form? Krishna has been requested by Arjuna to display the Virat Rupa, the universal form, so that Arjuna can set a standard for others that in future someone claims to be God, then he should be able to display the universal form. Does that answer the inquiry? All right. Question number 3. Vibhuti Yoga also related to material world objects to Lord in terms of being his energy. Srimad Bhagavatam universal form also relates material objects to Lord's form, although imaginary. So why Vibhuti Yoga is good for devotees and Srimad Bhagavatam universal form is not? Like thinking mountains as tiny spark of Lord's splendor and thinking them as Lord's bones. Both relate to him. Why one is good and other is not? So Vaya Vibhuti Yoga described in Bhagavad Gita chapter 10, goal is yoga, to connect to the Lord using the vibhutis of the material world. With universal form, even if you think of Bhagavad Gita's real universal form, one does not go anywhere because Bhagavad Gita's real universal form does not exist eternally in spiritual world. Bhagavad Gita's universal form, although transcendental, is annihilated upon full annihilation of the material universes. So Srimad Bhagavatam universal form conception is for materialistic persons to divert their imagination from material to spiritual via Srimad Bhagavatam's universal form. The materialistic person is not doing any yoga. So when you all devotees know that mountains as bones of the Lord description is not a real description, will you relish anything in remembering mountains as bones of the Lord? You tell me. So you all devotees know the personal Shyam Sundar form of the Lord. Therefore, for vibhutis of the world, connect to the Lord via Vibhuti Yoga. So there is a yoga. Now, still, when you see mountains, you can remember this Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 2 discussion that mountains as bones of the Lord is for materialistic persons to move their imagination from material to spiritual. And you can try to preach to someone materialistic with that mountains as bones of the Lord. But my question to all of you, when you all devotees know that mountains as bones of the Lord description is not a real description, it's just some imagination, will you relish anything in remembering mountains as bones of the Lord? Everybody, please let me know. Will you relish anything on such imaginary description?
No, Prabhuji.
And
No, Prabhuji.
and with Vibhuti Yoga, do you relish? Yes, no. Somebody? Vibhuti Yoga? At least follow me just couple days ago. Remembered Vibhuti Yoga that in Toronto, we have this in High Park, we have this flowers blossoming, and Paulomi posted on her WhatsApp status update. She posted the pictures for those flowers and she posted the verse from Vibhuti Yoga section that Krishna says, of the seasons, I am the flower bearing spring season. So, what was Paulomi doing there? Somebody, Paulomi?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I just remembered him. That's all. Like, I just remember the verse. Nothing that big, but it's just that memory came back of the class
Yeah, so
and
that is
continued
good,
to
right? You
it.
remember the
Yes.
Lord's description, right? But
Yes.
so this was relishing, at least I'm hoping.
Hmm. Yes.
But
That
with
was
yeah, but with that imagination doesn't help you. So does that answer the inquiry number three that Vibhuti Yoga is better for devotees and Bhagavatam universal form concept does not really help much? Everybody on the same page? All right, I have lots of silence. Okay. So question in the chat says what to imagine when doing japa. Focus on hearing our japa with blank mind. It is difficult to keep blank mind. So uh, the goal should be to hear. Now, question is absolutely correct that at our initial stages, it is little difficult and we need something to think. Um, so what you can do is don't imagine. Rather, you can have, say, the visual of Hare Krishna Mahamantra in front of you, like at the temple card. You at the back of the card, you have Hare Krishna Mahamantra, or I have on the screen. You can focus, say, on the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So when you are chanting, you are literally following the word for word. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So Hare Krishna Mahamantra is not different than Krishna, right? So you are looking at Krishna. Yes, you can have a visual of a picture, or you can have lotus feet of Gopinath. But don't imagine. We have discussed in Nectar of Instruction that bhakti is not imagination. Yes, it's okay to have these visual aids, but not imagination. Follow me? Does that help you?
yes, Prabhuji. Thank you. The mind wanders a lot, sorry to say,
Yeah.
but
And
it right.
so mind wandering and you realizing is actually a very good sign, right? Otherwise, how do you know mind is wandering? How will you rectify? So you can also visualize, say you have taken darshan of Gopinath, you can also visualize. So that visualization, there will be a fine line between visualizing and imagination. So have those visual aids, but not imagination.
Thank you,
Everybody?
Prabhuji.
Everybody on the same page?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So just to be clear, our goal is to just hear what we chant, right? Not any imagination or not any thoughts.
You are absolutely correct that we should only hear. So one devotee from our Toronto temple, so next time you go to Toronto temple, you will meet Raj Prabhu, who generally sits at the reception. And if you see him chanting in the morning at the temple, what he does is he deliberately holds one of his ear with his hand, that I want to hear what I am chanting. He literally holds his ear, that so that he's constantly he's using this additional aid of his own hands and holding his ear. He says, I want to hear what I am chanting. Subhash Prabhu, everybody.
Yeah, got it, Babuji. Thank you.
And Ptolemy is correct that mind wanders a lot. There is absolutely no doubt. So it's a work in progress for many. It's a work in progress for me. My Guru Maharaj gives this lecture on how to make japa great again so very frequently, like every alternate day, every week at least. Um, my Guru Maharaj gives this lecture, how to make japa great again. Try to attend one or more of his lecture on this, how to make japa great again, or listen. And you will realize that mind wanders a lot. Now, you can also use Krishna's words for your advantage, that say whatever number of rounds you are chanting, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 10, 16, does not matter, whatever is the count. After one or two rounds, you can take a break and read a verse. So what you are doing is you are placing Krishna's words in your mind, in your consciousness, and this Krishna in your consciousness, in your mind, is the strongest deterrent from letting the mind wander. So many will say, oh, just chant all your 16 rounds at once. And that's not correct. Yes, if you can chant with attention all 16 rounds, you can. But while we are in our sadhaka stage where we know our mind is wandering, there's no point in just mechanically chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, and turning the beats without even listening to a single syllable. No, pause after one or two rounds. Bring your mind back. Read one or two words, just a translation or a Sanskrit, even one line. Get your mind back on track and then do the other japa. Does that help? Kunal?
So probably we also need to have these activities of the Lord relatable, right? Srila Vyasdev kind of wrote Mahabharata and Ramayana so that we can relate to the activities of the Lord. Now, if
So,
we,
yeah,
yeah, so
you can relay
yeah, let
pastimes
me
from
complete.
Bhagavatam. Yeah, go
Let
ahead.
me complete. So, yeah, even in Bhagavad Gita, like Arjuna was not able to relate to the Virat Roop. So he said, show me the two-handed form. Like when we read the Srimad Bhagavatam and see these kind of activities wherein the ocean of material existence is mentioned, Garbhodakaya Vishnu and Kshirodakaya Vishnu. So we have to imagine, right? Without imagination, how do you kind of understand?
So, yeah, you don't need to imagine. You need to remember the discussion from Bhagavatam. So remembrance is not imagination. Right? Don't imagine. Uh, Nectar of Instruction, Prabhupada has clearly said bhakti is not imagination. So you can remember the pastimes, and you don't need to go to Mahabharata. Instead of Mahabharata, remember the discussions of Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam that are better. Mahabharata is for those little less uh, advanced on the path of spirituality. No, you are all much ahead. So remember. So there is difference of remembering and imagination. We don't need to imagine anything. remember. Yeah, it's okay to use remembrance of the past times as an aid while doing your japa, as an interim solution, right? The ultimate goal is we should be able to listen. But we all understand that I need some help here. So use the aids that I described so many points right now. Use them as aids, including the most recent Kunal Prabhu is saying about, yeah, remember Bhagavad Gita verses, remember Bhagavad Gita discussion, remember Bhagavatam discussions and pastimes. Kunal, everybody?
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you. Hare Krishna.
Question number 4. So there's a question, follow-up question from last class. The question I had was not about Krishna's name in the Mahamantra, rather was about Rama's name in the Mahamantra instead of Narayan, when there is so much discussion about Narayan. So last week's question was why Narayan's name is not in the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So the follow-up question says about, I responded about Krishna's name. So here's a follow-up question, and we'll read again the same verse from Bhagavatam 1.19.6 in terms of the hierarchy of Krishna's name, Rama's name, and Narayan's name. So I have Srimad Bhagavatam 1.19.6 on the screen, and we have the last few lines. Kunal Prabhu, you can read from here what is highlighted according to Varaha Purana.
According to the Varaha Purana, as quoted by Srila Jiva Goswami, there is no difference between the water of the Ganges and the Yamuna. But when the water of the Ganges is sanctified 100 times, it is called the Yamuna. Similarly, it is said that in the scriptures that 1,000 names of Vishnu are equal to the name of Rama, and 3 names of Lord Rama are equal to 1 name of Krishna.
Right, so hierarchy is crystal clear that Krishna is at the top, then Rama, and then Vishnu or Narayan. Vishnu and Narayan are interchangeable. Does that answer the inquiry? Question number 5. Is there a reason why Krishna is not named as Krishna in this Canto 2, Chapter 6? The scriptures are using the word Purusha a lot instead. So in the recording of the previous batch that I sent last week, that at the start of Canto 2, Chapter 6, I have described that Purusha is referring to universal form. I gave the reference of Taittiriya Mantra Upanishad as Purusha Shukta Mantra, referring to the cosmic being, right? So the discussion is about the universal form, therefore it says Purusha and not Krishna. Does that answer the inquiry? Question number 6. Who are these liberated souls in Srimad Bhagavatam 2.6.17? Did they never have to come to material world? So I'll bring up 2.6.17 on screen, and we'll read the little last paragraph which describes from how the question came up. So I have 2.6.17, and you can read what is highlighted here. Priyanka can read what is highlighted from the purport.
Hare Krishna. This is also explained and stated in the Bhagavad Gita 10.42. Thus, the 75% expansion of his radiation is called his internal energy, whereas the 25% expansion is called his external energy, is called the external energy of the Lord. The living entities who are residents of the spiritual as well as the material expansions are his marginal energy, tatastha shakti, and they are at liberty to live in either of the energies, external or internal. Those who live within the spiritual expansion of the Lord are called liberated souls, whereas the residents of the external expansion are called the conditioned souls. We can just make an estimate of the number of the residents of the internal expansions in comparison with the number of residents in the external energy, and may easily conclude that the liberated souls are far more numerous than the conditioned souls. Hare Krishna.
So this is where the question originated about that there are so many liberated souls in the spiritual world. So do they come to the material world? So we all were also liberated at some point in past, and we all were in the spiritual world. And some point in time, we misused our free will. Therefore, we are in the material world. If someone goes back to spiritual world now, after suffering in the material world, generally this soul will again not fall down to material world because he has tasted the suffering of the material world. For other liberated souls will depend on the use or misuse of free will. So I'll give an analogy to understand for souls like us who are in the material world. Now when they go back to spiritual world, why they will not fall down generally. So a parent will tell a child, don't touch a live electric wire, you will get a shock. The child generally ignores. Or the parent says, don't put your hand in the fire, you will get burned. The child ignores. Similarly, Krishna told us, don't go to material world, but we ignored. And somehow the child touches a live electricity wire and gets a shock, or somehow gets his hand burnt in a fire and he realizes that this is suffering. Therefore, from next point on, he will be very careful not to touch a live electricity wire or not to put the hand in fire. So now, when a soul has experienced this suffering in the material world, the soul now realizes, oh, Krishna told me earlier, but I didn't listen. Now I have experienced, now I will not do this mistake again. So then the soul will not again fall back. So Krishna also says this in Bhagavad Gita that once a soul goes back to spiritual world, he will not fall back again. It still is subject to use or misuse of free will of all the souls, the liberated souls in the spiritual world, whether they choose to come to the material world or not. Does that answer the inquiry?
Prabhuji, can you explain the last statement which you made about free will? I didn't understand what you were trying to imply when you said it.
So we all have free will, and Krishna does not interfere with our free will. So it still is up to each soul, the liberated souls in the spiritual world, to use or misuse their free will, whether they want to go to material world or not. Krishna will not interfere. It still is free will of the soul to decide where they want to be, in the spiritual world or go to the material world. But generally, the soul who has been in the material world, he goes back to spiritual world after liberation. That soul will not do that mistake again to come back to the material world because he has seen the suffering. Abhishek?
Yes, thank you, Prabhuji.
Question number 7. The devotee inquiry discussion in the recording mentioned that those who worship Brahmaji as Lord's devotee go to spiritual world after annihilation. Are these Brahmavadis who have developed bhakti while they stay in Brahmaloka? My confusion is that if they have bhakti, then why do they not go directly to spiritual world? So pay close attention, and I have used the words distinctly throughout. So Brahman effulgence and Brahmaji are different. Therefore, to distinguish, I always use Brahmaji. Because if I just say Brahma, sometimes in the recording, it's not crystal clear and it may sound like Brahman or Brahma. What am I referring to? Therefore, to distinguish, I always say Brahmaji. So Brahmavadi are not the same as those who worship and follow Brahmaji at Brahmaloka. Brahmavadi are Gyanis who follow the Gyan Yoga process with the aim to merge with Brahman effulgence. Brahmavadi are not offensive to the Lord because Brahmavadi lack devotee association, hence they only know Brahman effulgence. Mayavadi know about the Supreme Lord and are offensive against the Supreme Lord by wanting to go beyond the Supreme Lord. So those who worship and follow Brahmaji at Brahmaloka are different from Brahmavadi. In terms of why they do not go to spiritual world directly, so we have discussed in Canto 2 that some yogis, they want to take a via route because they want to see heaven or other higher planets or Brahmaloka. Hence, they end up at these in-between places. And at Brahmaloka, those who follow Brahmaji as devotee of the Lord, they will go to spiritual world together with Brahmaji upon full annihilation when Brahmaji's 100-year life ends. And those at Brahmaloka who worship and follow Brahmaji as independent of the Lord, they do not go to spiritual world upon annihilation. Generally, these people will end up as controlling demigods. Does that clarify all the terminology and all the questions? Question number 8. In the process of creation, when is Maya manifested? Is Maya only present in our universe? So Mahat Tattva is Maya. So if you recall the visual I have shown you last class, that after Vishnu glances over Pradhan and a little piece breaks off from Pradhan and the manifested world starts taking shape with that piece of Pradhan broken off to get manifested. That broken off piece from Pradhan is Mahat Tattva. And this is Maya. You can please follow the visual from the previous class. And Maya is present not just in our universe. Mahat Tattva is including all the infinite material universes. Everything is Maya. And Durga Devi, a pure devotee, is in charge of this Mahat Tattva to keep the conditioned souls bound in the material world. Does that help with the inquiry? Question number 9, Srimad Bhagavatam 2.6.10. Why is the universal form called transcendental in purport as it's just an imaginary concept, or the description here is of a real form. So is referring to the actual universal form. So if you recall the discussion from the recording of the previous batch, I have described that Canto 2 at the start is just talking of the universal form as a concept, that mountains are like the bones of the Lord. That is just a concept to move the imagination of materialistic people from material to spiritual. And then in Canto 2, later on, how the actual universal form, the real universal form described in Bhagavad Gita chapter 11, how that universal form gets actually manifested is also described in Srimad Bhagavatam. And that's the discussion starting. Therefore, it's referring to the actual universal form, which is transcendental, although not eternal. Does that answer the inquiry?
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you.
Question number 10. Is there any specific meaning to 75-25 division of Lord's energy as internal and external? So I already answered this question as part of question number 1 on the conviction, that there is no meaning to the 75-25 division of spiritual and material world. It is just a fact. So some of you have joined partway through, should listen to the recording, because that conviction inquiry discussion was quite important. You should please listen to that discussion. Last question for today. Srimad Bhagavatam 2.6.17. The living entities. So we did read this 2.6.17 purport a short while ago. The living entities who are residents of spiritual as well as material expansions are his marginal energy, Tatastha Shakti, and they are at liberty to live in either of the energies, external or internal. How to realize Jiva lives in either energies? So I already described this, that this is the free will of the Jiva. That Jiva can choose to be either under the internal energy and do devotional service, or Jiva can decide to be under the external energy and come to material world. Krishna does not interfere with the free will of the Jiva. So the whole purpose of scriptures such as Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam is for us Jivas to use our free will properly and choose internal energy and be engaged in devotional services. Does that answer the inquiry? Thank you. So I will send the next recording in the sequence. All of you are doing quite good in terms of completing your spiritual endeavors and making inquiries. Thank you again for your inquiries. Your inquiries are your mercy on me. Just one or two of you who are not completing the spiritual endeavors. So you can have an offline discussion with me as to how I can help you in your endeavor. Any questions, comments, realizations?
Prabhuji,
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. One thing I forgot to add is that the Japa group, that helps a lot. And if everyone, if they wish, and thank you so much for suggesting it, because it really helped. When we read the Vibhuti Yoga there every day, one verse, it helped to connect through nature. So I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing and thank you for joining the Japa group. And yes, Paulomi is bang to the point, correct, that use Japa group as an aid, that they only chant one round of Japa every day generally, but it gets absorbed in your consciousness. And Sumnima was also saying, oh, that Japa group is so nice. I cannot explain how nice it is. It's just an amazing feeling. And they also follow the Japa group devotees, many others beside the Japa group also. They follow my spiritual master's direct instruction to read a chapter of Bhagavad Gita every day. So right now we are reading chapter 12 every day, and the sequence and the instruction changes from my spiritual master. I think right now is still June 16th. We read Bhagavad Gita chapter 12 every day. Previously, couple months back, it used to be chapter 10, Vibhuti Yoga. That's what Paulam is referring to. So yes, some of you are struggling. Try to join the Japa group few times and get back on track. Thank you, Paulami, for sharing. Everybody can do that, please.
Prabhuji, can you explain which is this Japa group?
So many devotees across our various batches, they assemble 7:30 p.m. generally every day, Toronto time, to chant one round of japa together via WhatsApp call. And they also read one chapter of Bhagavad Gita every day following the instructions of my spiritual master. And there is a second japa group, which is, I think the time is, Toronto time is morning around 8:30 a.m. So I'm not sure. You can get the timing from Shalini. So join one or both of these groups depending on which time works for you. So we have one in the morning, one in the afternoon. So because we have devotees across various time zones, you can pick one that can work for you. Abhishek.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
So if anybody is interested, you can let me know. I will send you the contact information for Shalini, and she can add you to those groups. All right, we'll stop here. Hare Krishna, everybody.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna,
Thank
Prabhuji.
you.
Hare Krishna, Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Prabhuji.